Hi guys, and welcome to another Kitchen Draft Live. Well, in today's video we're gonna be making a nice and easy beef stroganoff. Nothing complicated. I try to kind of simplify the ingredients as much as I can. So I'm gonna go through the ingredients. I know it kind of looks scary what I've got here because there are quite a few, but then consider that are spices as well. So we've got salt, pepper, smoked paprika and all that kind of stuff. But apart from that, the ingredients, in my opinion, are not that complicated, and we will try to make it in a way that's not breaking the bank, because beef obviously can be quite expensive. That's why in today's recipe we're using something slightly cheaper. Now the idea is that this recipe obviously can be made with various cuts of beef, but I'm choosing a rump of beef today because it's slightly cheaper than, well, it's probably a lot cheaper than the fillet of beef, which to be honest is ideal because it's not chewy at all. It's pretty lean. Well, not because it's lean, because probably being lean is not really an advantage, but choosing rump of steak, you reduce the price with quite a lot, and that's the cheapest I would go. You can obviously use sirloin steak, you can use ribeye steak, so there are quite a few options out there, but ideally you want to use a prime cut of beef because these will not be that chewy, because that's the whole idea. We're not going to cook these for a whole lot, so hopefully we're going to cook these a lot faster than usual, because we spend quite a lot of time together, although I like it, don't get me wrong, but I want to show you that it can be done in pretty decent time. It's going to take longer, as you know, because we're doing a bit of talking and all that. But apart from this, we shouldn't be longer than 45 minutes, I would say, with all the talking and everything involved. Now, I'm going to go for the ingredients. So what we've got today here are the following ingredients. I'm just going to show you what's going on here because it's a lot easier to understand this way. So I've got two rump steaks. Now, these obviously, you might need to trim some of the fat, you might need to leave some of the fat. Obviously, you need to find some sort of balance. This part here is probably a bit too much, so I'll probably trim that. But whatever is like the marble inside and a bit of fat inside the steak, that's fine, because we're going to sear the steak off and it should be okay. Now, that's the beef right there. And then we've got mushrooms. I've got some chestnut mushrooms. You know me, I'm kind of a big fan of chestnut mushrooms in comparison to button mushrooms, because I feel like they have a bit stronger flavor. Not a lot stronger, because obviously they're not wild mushrooms, but they're still better, and I think they are kind of better value for money from this point of view, because you get a slightly stronger mushroom aroma into your dish. So we got here, I don't know how many, well, you can see probably a handful of mushrooms. I've got some cream, whether you're using single cream, double cream, whatever the cream. This is actually whipping cream, I think. Yeah, this I think is actually whipping cream. So it doesn't really matter that much, as long as you bear that in mind when you're cooking it, because you don't want to kind of like split the cream, or it kind of it curdles, if you cook it too much when you add it into the pan. So you need to bear that in mind. I also have some yogurt, just normal yogurt, Jersey yogurt. I have about 1.5 tablespoons. We'll see how much we use. You can also use sour cream if you want to. That's another option, but I'm going to be going with the, oh, perfect. Hi, Andre. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, my friend. Yeah, it's good to see you again, because obviously you were here last week. So yeah, I'm glad to see you again. So yogurt. So yeah, yogurt, 1 spoon, 2 tablespoons. We'll see how it goes, but around 1.5 should do the job. You can also replace this with sour cream, as I mentioned, but just bear that in mind that you'll get a bit sour, obviously, a bit more than with the yogurt. I'm saying that because I'm also going to be using some pickle. So I've got here a pickle. That's all I need. I'm probably not even going to use the whole thing. I think pickles in the actual stroganoff, they work really well. Don't go crazy with this. And even if you add it, bear in mind that the sourness from the pickle combined with the sour cream and all that. So make sure you don't add one more than the other, or when you add one, bear in mind that you're going to add the other, so you're going to increase that sourness into your dish. This is kind of salty as well, so that's something again to bear in mind, that the salt content, you might need to reduce it slightly, although it's just one pickle, let's be honest. it's not going to influence our decisions a whole lot. I also have some onions, 2 white onions. These are kind of small, so if, let's say, you get like a nice chunky onion, that's probably the size of a nice chunky onion. And I've got 1 clove of garlic. This is definitely not part, as far as I know, at least it's not part of the original recipe. I mean, there are quite probably a few things here that are not part of the original recipe, but garlic is good in many situations, and I think it's going to work well. We're not going crazy. 1 clove of garlic, which is basically spread between like 2.5 portions, depending on how much we get. It all depends how hungry you are in the end when it comes to portions. My secret weapon today, which some people use it, some people don't, smoked paprika. I really like it, and especially with beef stroganoff, it works really, really well. If you don't have smoked paprika, you can kind of substitute it with sweet, normal sweet paprika, but obviously you're not going to get that smokiness that I like, at least. I'm not sure, hopefully you do as well. What else we've got? So obviously salt and pepper. And then when it comes to garnish, you can either choose rice. I've got here basmati rice, or you can go, if you want, with pasta. So that these are the 2 most common kind of like ways of going. It all comes to preference in the end. Now let's get straight into it. I hope you guys can hear me properly, because last week I was kind of shocked after the live stream that the sound was absolutely terrible. I don't know what happened there, but anyway, this is the kind of like risk when you're doing live streams, especially being one-man band, cooking, live streaming, and everything in the same time. It can get complicated. Now, let's get straight into it, and I'm going to prep the onion, because that's the first thing I want to do. I'm going to get the onion into the, let's turn these on. So I want to get the onion first, and we're going to cook it till it becomes translucent. And then when it becomes translucent, we're going to go in with the mushrooms. And we're going to continue with that till the onion kind of gets a bit more color. Oh, this is not good. Okay, so this onion can go. I've got a backup. I kind of had the feeling that this is going to be off. So I've got another one here. How are you guys doing? Whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, both ways will do the job. You're probably going to get slightly better quality on YouTube, because it's not that compressed, at least as far as I know. Facebook tends to compress it slightly, but it doesn't really matter. As long as you can hear me properly, the image quality shouldn't be bad on both sides. On either side, sorry. Okay, onion, let's remove the outside layer, which is kind of tough, so we're going with the whole easy peeling method. And now all I'm doing, slicing julienne, nothing complicated. You don't need to be extremely precise, because obviously it's going to go in the pan in a minute, so it's not like it matters that much. But ideally you want to cook it, you want to chop it, or slice it actually, the same size, so you kind of cook in the same time. That's actually the main reason. So now we're going in with oil, 1/2 tablespoon, 1 tablespoon, let's say. It's probably about 1 tablespoon in there, and we're going straight in with the onion. It's probably not as hot as I wanted it to be, but that's not a problem, because with the induction, it gets hot pretty fast, so that's not an issue. So let's put this straight in. Okay, I'm gonna get the garlic now. And I actually forgot to say, we've got some thyme in here as well. So that was another ingredient that we're going to be adding, which probably is not in the original recipe either, but that's fine. Thyme, I think, and beef, they work really well together. Thyme and pork, I mean, thyme and a lot of meat works really well. They work really, really well. So I don't see the reason why not to add some thyme in there. Okay, just chopping this. I'm gonna go slightly smaller with the garlic. I don't want to get any kind of like big bits of garlic into my stroganoff. But I'm not gonna add the garlic just yet. So the garlic I'm gonna add in the same time when I add the mushrooms. So we give it a bit of time till the onion cook. Now you could go with a bit more onion if you want to, but I think that's just enough because I need to kind of find some sort of balance. It's something that I keep talking about. So when it comes to balance, in my opinion, if you have, let's say, if you're making beef stroganoff, I think, so the main, I think, flavor kind of thing, or the main ingredient is basically the beef. After that, I think mushrooms, in my opinion at least, and then the onion. But the onion is kind of just complementing the whole dish because they will, when you cook them, they start kind of caramelizing, so they become sweeter. So this sweetness in combination with the sour cream, or in this case, we're using yogurt, they work really, really well. So that's the whole idea, combining something sweet with something sour, and these will basically bring this dish to a whole new level, plus some smokiness from the smoked paprika. I can guarantee this is going to be good. You don't need to go crazy with the heat here. I kind of want to leave these on medium kind of heat because I want it to cook slowly. It's no rush really. As I said, I think around 45 minutes will be done. But then that's just because obviously a lot of talking and everything that we do here, that's probably why it's going to take longer. But I'm pretty sure if you do it at home, you'll be a lot more organized than I am, and you don't have to worry about cameras and all this kind of stuff working. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll do a lot better job than I do from this point of view. Now let's get the mushrooms. And these are tiny, so let me show you. These are tiny, but obviously if you get bigger mushrooms, you might want to. So a mushroom like this, you don't need to cut it more than in half. If you cut it in half, that's all you need, because obviously during cooking, it will reduce to, I don't know, almost to like a half from what it is, because obviously mushrooms have a lot of water. So let's get these quickly sliced, and we're adding them in the same time. We've got some chunkier ones, we're cutting them in 4 or something like that, 5. But other than that, they can go the way they are. If it was probably a bigger mushroom, you probably can remove the stalk of the mushroom, but I don't think it's kind of needed in this situation. They are tiny, they're literally like tiny button mushrooms. So this is not that far. As soon as it starts to kind of getting translucent, we're going to go in with the mushrooms. And the reason why I want to give these a bit of color is because the mushrooms will leave some liquid. So when you add them, obviously we will increase the heat, but they will still leave some sort of liquid. And then the onion will not caramelize. It will just kind of like boil in that mushroom juice. And it's not what we want in this situation. We want to give a bit, at least some sort of flavor with the oil, kind of slowly getting to the caramelization point, but not quite there. And then we're going in with the mushrooms, and we'll continue with the mushrooms till the onion starts getting even more color. So basically, till to the point that we're kind of reducing all that water from the mushrooms, and all we end up with is basically dry ingredients, more or less. Okay, so we're going in now with the mushrooms. I might be adding a bit more oil. We'll see how it goes. Butter would be good. We can go with a bit of butter, adding some extra flavor in there. That wouldn't be probably a bad shout, to be honest with you. So if you're adding a bit of butter at this point, it's pretty dry. Yeah, it's kind of dry now because I've only added like 1 tablespoon of oil, and the oil more or less was absorbed by the onion. So let's add a bit of butter. Now, if you don't have butter, as I said, just continue with oil. I'll add probably like 10 grams of butter. So 10 grams of butter will go, roughly 10 grams. I mean, probably it's not going to be 10 exactly, but or a bit more, who knows. Yeah, around 10 to 15, something like that is what I added. Okay, this will go back into the fridge. I'm not adding, as you can see at this point, I'm not adding any salt, pepper, anything like that. If you're adding salt now over the mushrooms, don't get me wrong, it's not a huge mistake, but they will release that water that we were talking about a lot faster, and we don't want that. They will probably eventually release some liquid because they have a lot of liquid anyway, but ideally you want to give them a bit of time in like a high heat without adding any salt yet, because the salt kind of like tends to push all that water out of the mushrooms. Now what I'm going to do meanwhile, because I want to cook these for a bit, I want to give them probably another like 5 minutes or so. I want to get some rice on. With the rice, as I said, you can either use rice, you can use pasta, it's totally up to you. It's not necessarily some sort of rule. But between these two, I think we are having a good kind of like we're gonna make a good dish. So for the rice, I'm using basmati rice. So when it comes to basmati rice, I'm not sure if you've seen some of my recipes on my channel. It's pretty easy. I'm talking white basmati rice. If it's something else, it's gonna be a different cooking method. I'm choosing basmati rice in most of my cooking because it's easy. It gets pretty fluffy. I like the texture. So the idea is the following. So what we're doing here with this is just basically, if you're adding, let's say, if you want to put a cup of dry rice to cook, then you need 2 cups of water. So whatever the amount of rice you're adding double the water. Now ideally, you probably want the water, I don't know, boiling water, like a kettle. So you put the rice, you put the boiling water straight in, and you give it about 9 to 10 minutes, something like that, and it should be done. But this way, this time we're doing it differently. So I'm adding the water first. I'm never really kind of measuring, but kind of freestyle works. So a good pinch of salt. And if you want any flavors in here, you can add. I usually add some cardamom pods, if I have any. I'm pretty sure I do, but should be here somewhere. It's not necessarily to add anything. You can leave it plain because obviously we'll have quite a bit of flavor in here. But if you want, you can add some flavors, or even turmeric. I like turmeric powder. That's another one. So 2 cardamom pods. It's not going to change the world, but it's still going to give us probably slightly better flavor. Now, let's turn this on. I'm turning this on this side so we have enough space to cook, to do whatever we need to do here. Okay, let me show you what's going on here. So as you can see now, we still have some sort of liquid in there. Obviously, some of it is because of the butter, but the mushrooms kind of start releasing some sort of like some of that water that they contain. Okay, I'm just going to put the lid over the water, and when it starts boiling, we're going to go in with the rice. When we almost get to the point that we are happy with what we've got here, I'm going to add the seasoning, so salt, pepper, and all that kind of stuff. Although we might need to adjust the seasoning at the end, but that's fine. That's more than fine. I want to have some sort of seasoning. Usually, I'm adding seasoning right from the beginning, but as I explained earlier, because we added mushrooms, I want to give a bit of time for the mushrooms to cook in oil or in butter without releasing so much of that water. We're not going to go again through it, but you know what I mean. Now, good pinch of salt, and about the same of freshly grounded black pepper. If you know me, I know you probably know that I'm a big fan of freshly grounded black pepper. It smells good, it feels good, it's just better for taste. And although it looks a lot, I'm not adding that much actually, because this pepper mill is not probably the greatest. And it's probably not the pepper mill, it's more of like the pepper being a bit humid because of my kitchen being kind of humid, to be honest. Okay, so the rice there, the water there actually, because the rice is not there yet. It starts boiling, so we're gonna go in with the rice. Now, what I also wanna do, so we're going with the rice. As I said, it should be half the amount of water you've added. I'm just kind of gonna eyeball it, and it should be fine. Probably a bit too much water, so that should do. We'll see. We'll see if I still got it without measuring. If not, well, ideally you want to measure, yeah, just to make sure. So 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, or whatever the rice, double the amount of water, and you should be good. And about 9 minutes of cooking, which I'll put them on the timer just because I have a feeling that talking and doing all this kind of stuff, I'm going to forget about it. So about 9 minutes from now, yeah, it should do the job. And then we'll leave it obviously with the lid on, and then it will continue cooking. Okay, so I'm happy with what I've got here. Now what I want to do, so we've added salt, we've added pepper. I'm also going to be adding thyme. So thyme, but I'm also adding the leaves. Few leaves in there. To be honest, with the thyme, you could have added them earlier, and even the pepper you could have kind of added earlier. It's only the salt that's kind of playing a role in here. Okay, so I'm happy with what I've got here. Now I'm going to remove these from the heat. Salt on the side. These can go. I'm going to remove these from the heat because I'm going to use exactly the same pan to cook the beef. I don't see the point why you would use another one. You could do it, but since we've got it here, let's go with the beef. Now, with the beef, I'm going to use the same chopping board just because I'm not going to cut any more vegetables on it. I think so. Oh no. Actually, I'm going to cut some. I'm going to cut all these. Oops. Reducing the heat here. It's going otherwise all over the place. So I'm just cutting this gherkin and just leave it on the side. And I'm changing actually the chopping board. We're using a one for meat. Okay. Probably that was better because it was bigger, but. So let's see what we've got here. So now the beef, about 1 centimeter thick strips. That's what we're looking for. I'm not seasoning the meat before because I want to make sure that all the meat gets covered in seasoning. So basically each one of the sides of the meat. If I was to season the steak before slicing it, obviously this wouldn't be the case. If you have anything that might be chewy in there, just cut it off, trim it off basically. Like for example, this part, I'm pretty sure this is going to be pretty bad. So I'm going to remove it. Okay. That gets removed. There is a bit of fat here. That doesn't bother me that much. Moving on to the next one. And I'm going to put this back here. Okay, that will do. Now, this fat here, although it's quite nice, I'm not sure if I want all these in here. This part here as well, it will be kind of chewy, so we need to trim that off. And what we end up with should be pretty good for what we need. So about 1 centimeter strips should do the job. Okay, so let's put everything back and do a good seasoning on the steak. Let me wash my hands quickly and let's do it. We're not going to go crazy with the seasoning. Obviously you can add whatever you want because it's one of those freestyle kind of situations. So we're going simple with salt and pepper first. I want a good pinch of salt in there. And then when it comes to pepper, you want probably even more than that. And the reason why I want even more than that is because pepper and beef work very well together. There's not something that I actually need to explain it, and it's not something that I discovered. But in combination with cream, so we've got cream in there as well, they work even better. So imagine like if you were to make a carbonara, if let's say you don't use the traditional method and you add in cream, or even if you're using a sauce that is got cream, you would add quite a bit of pepper because it just works well. Well, it all depends if you like pepper or not. That's a different story. But same with the steak, pepper sauce. Obviously, there are steaks that are served with pepper sauce. Plus, adding quite a bit of pepper on the steak works really well. Now, if I was to probably measure this somehow, would probably be 2 good pinches of black pepper. I would say probably a quarter of teaspoon, probably a quarter of teaspoon of pepper. But with these, it all depends on how much you like pepper, on how much seasoning or what seasoning you want to add. But I think it works really well. And don't be tricked by the amount of time I'm spending here with this pepper mill, because it's actually not that much pepper after all. Okay, so we've got pepper here. Now I want to turn on the heat, and I want to high heat. So that's what we're looking for now, high heat. The rice is looking good. I think we've got a few more seconds. Yeah, I mean, we've got another like 2 minutes till it's done. So once this is hot, we're going in with a tablespoon of veg oil, and after that, we're going in with the meat. And towards the end, I want to add the smoked paprika. Now, I've seen recipes where people add the smoked paprika right from the beginning, basically coating the paprika in general, coating the steak in paprika. My opinion, but paprika kind of gets bitter, or it gets slightly bitter, you know, during the cooking process, especially because you kind of want to sear the steak. So I wouldn't recommend that. It's not going to change a whole lot the flavor of the dish, but why not adding it later without causing any troubles? So good tablespoon of veg oil in there, and now we can go in with the meat after making sure that it gets well coated in that seasoning. I probably needed a bigger pan, but what can you do? I do like my wok, and I use it in most situations, but to be honest, for recipes like this, ideally, you want cast iron pan, because the cast iron pan gives a lot better color to the steak. We're using what we've got, and it's gonna be fine. Don't worry about that. So don't move it too much. Now I want to give you a bit of color. So once it gets a bit of color, we're gonna turn it. In the same time, you don't want to cook it too much, especially when it comes to beef. And beef in general, but drumstick, it gets pretty chewy if you cook it too long. I mean, probably beef in general or meat in general, if you cook it too long, it will get chewy. So that's something to bear in mind. So we're not going to go crazy when it comes to this. Plus, we're going to be cooking it with cream. So that's something, again, to remember, that you don't need to cook it here all the way. Okay, rice. And my mom is in the house. Of course she is. Hello, hello. All right then. So we're just turning the beef. We're hoping here to get some sort of color. And we did. It doesn't look bad. It could have been better if you were to use, well, if you were to use less beef or cooking it gradually. it would have been better, to be honest with you. But because I was kind of impatient, everything in, no ideal, but it will do the job. Now, let's go in with thyme. Just the leaves. Add a few more leaves in there. And that's out. And now smoked paprika. I'm gonna add about half teaspoon of smoked paprika. It all comes how much smokiness you want in here, but half teaspoon should do the job. We'll taste at the end, obviously, and we'll see if it needs more, we'll add more. Getting pretty steamy in here, but we're looking good. I just want to show you what's going on here, if you can see. Now probably I'm steaming that camera, but that's fine. So now, back with the mushrooms. So the mushroom goes straight in, and the onion. And it smells so good already. We'll see when it comes to seasoning later on. Now I know some recipes, or maybe the original recipe, I don't even know, says that you can use brandy. You can use brandy and it's probably gonna get even better flavor, but that not everybody's got brandy at home, let's be honest. So we'll keep it simple, but bear in mind that if you wanna add brandy, when you cook the steak, when it gets like properly sealed off, then you can add some, I don't know, 50 mils of brandy in there and reduce it till the alcohol gets evaporated. And then after that, you can add the mushrooms. Now, I'm happy with what I got here. I'm gonna reduce the heat now. The reason why I wanna reduce the heat to minimum is because we're gonna add the cream. And I don't wanna kind of like split the whole thing. So when we're adding the cream, reduce the heat now, and we're gonna slowly bring everything back to simmer. So cream goes in. I got here about 200 milliliters of cream. Heavy cream, whipping cream, whatever the cream you've got at home should do the job. Probably from whipping cream, between whipping cream and double cream are best options because they got a bit of fat in there, they got a bit of flavor, obviously. If you want to keep it a bit more like low fat, then you probably need to go for something like a single cream. And also my mother-in-law is here. That's perfect. Hello from Jersey. Okay, so I want to bring this to simmer. Let's put this back on the heat, bring it to simmer. And now, before it comes to simmer, let's go with the yogurt. Actually, I think I'm gonna get the whole thing in, which is 1.5, 2 tablespoons of yogurt. Should be more than enough for what we need here. And I'm just gonna try to kind of incorporate it into the dish. Okay, so what I want now, slowly bring this to simmer, and after that, add some of this pickle. I might add just half for now. It should do the job, I think. Half should be enough. Not many people, well, not everybody probably wants the pickle into, but trust me, it works really well because you got some sort of like, the cream obviously is kind of like, not extremely heavy, but is obviously on the heavy side. And then you've got these to cut through that, because it's kind of acid, you've got these to cut through that fat from the cream, if that makes sense. Hi Andy, nice to see you. Yeah, okay, I'm actually really happy. I think you actually mentioned it at some point that we should make a stroganoff, and here we are, we've got it. I'm not sure if you watched right from the beginning, but if you didn't, then I'm suggesting you to probably go back and see what happened here. Pretty easy recipe, to be honest. Nothing complicated when it comes to even ingredients, because we use kind of like basic ingredients. So I want to bring this to the boil. And then once it comes to the boil, just simmer for another like 30 seconds, really. Let's taste and see how we are seasoning wise. See if we need anything else. I feel like, probably call me crazy, but I feel like a bit more of black pepper is needed. So we're going in with another pinch, good pinch of black pepper. And even smoked paprika. I'm going to be adding a bit more of that. Okay, so pepper in, and then another good pinch of smoked paprika in there. Okay, this came to simmer now, so I'm giving it about 30 seconds just so the sauce kind of gets into, okay, I'm all over the place with sauce, that's great. Just so basically the beef gets some of that sauce, because that's the whole idea. That's why I want to leave you a bit more. Not that because the beef is not ready, because obviously the beef, you can eat it rare or medium rare or whatever, but I want to make sure that some of that sauce gets into the beef, so it gets like a nicer flavor. That's the whole idea. Hello, hello. We've got more people coming in. Good to see you guys. That's nice to see that we've got quite a few people this evening, afternoon, whatever. This is already evening, let's be honest, because it's after 7. What's the time? It's 7:36, so we've been live for obviously 36 minutes. So I said 45 minutes. We are just before that. We're going to be done in a couple of minutes, but we want to make sure that this... So now, so I'm only using half of this. Half of the pickle should do the job. I think this will be just perfect. So I'm incorporating everything here. And now let's see the rice. So the rice should be perfect now, because it had enough time to sit and see if we got it right when it comes to, like, we got it perfectly right. Look at this. All nice, fluffy, no liquid left. So even without using an actual recipe, just kind of eyeballing it, we got it. All right, so let's start plating. Now, ideally, you want some sort of parsley, chives, something green, and something that also helps, you know, bringing some sort of flavor to the dish. But I don't have any, so I'm just going to keep it as simple as it is, just with what we've got here. So let me first, so we'll get the rice. Let me find everything I need here for plating. You could use a bowl. It might be a bit more suitable, to be honest with you. But whatever, it works either way. Now, let me show you what's going on here. So the beef is nice, the sauce is just perfect consistency. It's not too thick, it's not too thin in my opinion. It's just what we need. A bit of sauce in there. And ideally, as I said, you probably want some sort of chives or some sort of parsley. Either way will do, either one will do. But it was easy, right? So just under 40 minutes, and with all the talking obviously, but I'm pretty sure if you organize even better than I am, because I'm not that organized as you can see, you can do this in half an hour. And bang, that's your dinner there. Half an hour, easy, nothing complicated. I really hope that you enjoyed this, and if you did, as always, make sure you give me a thumbs up, because it really helps with the algorithm. Whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube, subscribe to the channel or follow the page, whichever you are on, and I will see you in the next one, because this was the Friday's recipe, and I wish you all the best. I wish you an amazing weekend. That's it with Kitchen Draft. Bye, bye, bye.